about to enter the Harn Homestead for our co-op field trip. Here it is. I thought a video would be a great way to capture and preserve the fun, rich history of the Harn Homestead. Second time we've been here. We came here last year and the barn was closed, but we're hoping to be able to see the inside of the barn this time. The Harn Homestead is the oldest and longest running farm in Oklahoma City. It has been untouched for over 100 years and is right in the heart of the city. You can see the state capitol from the homestead, and you can also see the tallest building, which is called the Devon Tower, from the homestead as well. The tallest building in Oklahoma City. The history of the Harn Homestead stems back to the land run of 1889. In order to solve land disputes, then President Benjamin Harrison appointed pioneer William Fremont Harn to be a land commissioner in Oklahoma Territory. Congress passed the Homestead Act of 1862, which provided 160 acres of federal land to anyone who agreed to farm the land. An acre of land sold for $1.40, and there was 2 million acres of land to stake. Some people even camped out early and ready to stake land because it was mainly on a first-come basis. These people are known as the Boomers and Sooners. Originally from Ohio, William Harn and his wife Alice moved to Oklahoma Territory and purchased 160 acres of land, which is where the Harn Homestead Museum exists today. When Harn was sent to the Oklahoma Territory in 1890 by President Harrison to settle the land ownership disputes, Harn built a one-room house on that 160 acres of land.
They said every tribal member who will get 160 acres of tribal land. And then they forced them to sell the balance of their land and had 4 more land runs for a total of 5, 2 sealed bid auctions in the lottery. And I think the reason they did lotteries and auctions is that you just have one room.
The students are now ready to enter Stony Point Schoolhouse, which is a one-room schoolhouse built in 1906. It was originally located in Crescent, Oklahoma, and in 1947, the school shut down. And the school was relocated to the Harn Homestead in 1986. So in a way, this schoolhouse is a more recent addition to the homestead. Schools were built every 3 miles, so no one had to walk more than 3 miles to get to and from school. So if your great-grandparents have ever told you that they had to walk 10 miles to get to school, they were probably exaggerating. Girls and boys entered the school through separate doors and sat at opposite sides of the classroom. The schoolhouse still has the original chalkboard, which was made of mud, plaster, and horsehair. Most of the desks are the original as well. 8th grade was the highest education you could achieve before the government approved of paying for education through 12th grade. And education consisted of, as you might have guessed, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
The 8th grade education was not bad. If you go online when you're done, when you go home from this, and Google the 8th grade equivalency test, it's pretty challenging. even the parents. I think there's some things that will challenge you. So try that as a continuation of your learning on this one in the schoolhouse and see what you think. And then you're going to go. I
pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty.
First, the class would recite the Pledge of Allegiance, which was penned in 1892 and didn't include "Under God." But in 1954, at a time when the United States wanted to distinguish itself from godless communist countries like Russia during the Cold War, the United States government decided to include "Under God" in our Pledge of Allegiance.
And at that time, Russia in the Communist Party, it's not true in Russia anymore, but at that time it was against the law to be a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist. You could not practice religion in Russia. The only religion for the communists in Russia at that time was the state. And so we, the United States, we are a democracy. It's perfectly fine to be a member of the Communist Party, the Republican Party, the Independent. That is your political choice. But we were so concerned about the atheistic tendency, that means anti-God tendencies of the communist regime in Russia, that Congress passed a law and Dwight Eisenhower signed it in, that we put one nation under God into the pledge. So here's the interesting fact. We were 177 years old as a nation before the pledge that I recited from the time I was little in grade school became a part of the fabric of our life. And that's why it evolved the way it did. So the next thing you would do in school at this time probably was you might have a Bible reading, you might have a prayer time, and when I read this,
In those days, students used slates and chalk to prevent waste of paper. Students were taught the philosophy of waste not, want not. For instance, chalk was used to the very, very stubs.
And I had a little kid one day, in a minute I'll hand chalk out to you, and he had a little piece of chalk like this. And he said, Mr. David, I need another piece of chalk. And I said, well, the teacher would have said in 1897, the teacher would have said, you need another piece of chalk when you need another piece of chalk. Waste not, want not. You use that chalk to the very end. And that was...
After a Bible reading and prayer, the class would move on to the core subjects of reading, writing, and arithmetic.
I suspect a lot of you kids maybe have programs where you learn your math. Turn your slate vertical, up and down.
So for math, slates were turned vertically, and real-life word problems were usually presented. Like, if a girl picked 3 eggs and another girl picked 3 eggs, how many eggs did they gather in total?
Thank you so much, parents.
Students would write their math problems and answers and raise their slates, put them down, and quickly erase their slates to move on to the next problem.
Look, we had 3, 3, look, there's 3, 3. 1 plus 1, you told that, correct? 1 plus 2, and you do it really quickly. And it's a wonderful way to learn. In fact,
And then on to writing. Students were first taught to spell and write their names, and the slates were turned horizontally for that.
so I can play here with some writing.
His name is David. Oh, your names?
Let's start in the middle this time with Aiden. Okay, we have.
Here the guide is talking about the importance and necessity of cursive and the potential for technology to be unreliable and fail us one day.
The Declaration of Independence, how the penmanship should never be eliminated, even with the computer. What happens if we lose our power? What are you going to do? Amelia, we've got the readers.
The last subject covered was reading, and the students would read out of the McGuffey readers. And some of the poetry that was taught and memorized was Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Talks about twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Girls, when the blazing sun is set and the grass is dew is wet, then you show your little light, twinkle, twinkle, all the night. Now, parents, to me, and then I think we'll take a bathroom break, and then we'll go to the farmhouse and learn about living in the farmhouse.
The teacher would pray and then dismiss the children for recess.
Okay.
My youngest kiddo needed a potty break, so we are on our way back to join in on recess.
Not that easy, huh? Walking on stilts.
It's kind of hard, but it's kind of easy.
Yes.
Rules against boys.
It's a balancing act. Whoa, good job. You got this. Wow. I think you got it. Walking on their stilts.
Pretty good. That was fun.
Oh, yay. We'll put away all our recess too. It's very hard, right?
We passed by the cellar and well on our way to the farmhouse. In the heat of the summer, the cellar kept food from spoiling. It also provided a safe place to run to during tornadoes, which are typical in
And
Oklahoma.
you can go in here to keep safe from the tornadoes. And there's an herb garden. This is supposed to be a garden. And it's... Okay, we're gonna go now.
There is an herb garden adjacent to the cellar, and it provided medicines, flavors, and various aromas.
Scents or smells. Yeah, you just did. That must be a well.
The well is a source of drinking water and provided a place for
Oh, I wonder
milk
what
and
that
butter
is.
to
Maybe
stay
some
cool.
Sort of a nut. Maybe a pecan. Yeah, now they're playing. Let's go see what they're doing. Let's go see.
William Harn obtained and moved his farmhouse to the homestead in 1909. Harn had asked his nephew to relocate his family from Ohio to Oklahoma. This farmhouse is a great example of the waste not, want not mentality that was common to the turn of the century farming family.
It's always fun. And we love it. Yes.
Our guide is talking about using this chamber for an outhouse at night to prevent from having to go outside to do your business. It's important to fill the chamber halfway with water first. Try going potty in a dry bucket and you'll see why. Our guide is now showing some of the typical and simple games like Jacob's Ladder that the children enjoyed playing with in those days. Families didn't burn wood for the fire at night because it could be quite an expense keeping a fire going through an entire night.
Oh, corn. Oh, we got a plate. Jacob's Ladder. I wonder how it works. That's so neat.
No, see, it's literally just these 3 strings.
Really?
See the red and
I have to figure it out. I still haven't figured it out.
it's just on one side.
Yeah, and then you go to the nearest person and cut them in half.
The lady is so solid in Victoria.
Nice getting.
Yeah, what is this?
I love those. Looks like more like knitting.
Everyone got a break for lunch. And this is what some of our boys would like to do. So much for the simple toys we got to play with. This is as simple as it gets.
Oh wow!
And so one of the
Hemp
things
rope
that
was
very
commonly
common in
made
the
during
old
the
days
pioneer
was
days
rope.
and was made from
And
the
it's
hemp
called
plant.
Hemp rope.
Our first
Because they
president,
made it
George
from the hemp
Washington,
plant.
grew hemp at
George
Mount
Washington
Vernon.
grew hemp at
The
Mount
only
Vernon.
people who make hemp rope today
The
are the
only
horse
people I
and
know
buggy
now
people.
who make their own rope are the horse and buggy people. I mean, the bridle. Sometimes at Christmas I'll make a red, white, and green rope, and I'd make a pretty bridle, wouldn't it? So we're going to make a rope. We're going to make an 8-string rope, and the farmer would have bought a spinner device like this, and you weight it with a bucket, and all this will make sense when you see it happen, and you all are going to spin the rope. So watch what I do. I want you to count with me. I'm going to do an 8-string device right here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I want to be sure. Double knot. Okay, so this is string 1. So we go 1. Here's 2. Count with me.
2.
And we got to kind of bring it up now. You're going to weight it. Yeah, right. 3, 7. Here is 8. Okay, now I'm going to take 8. Now that we have the string, I'm going to cut it off with my scissors, my clippers. We're going to do a double tie. Like that. Then we're going to cut it off here. Into 4 pairs. Like this with the cross. Back here. So
Everyone got a chance to help a little in the rope making
1,
process.
2, 3, like that. Are you ready? Grab the handle. 1, 2, 3. Now stand over there. 1, 2, 3. Stand over here. No, over this side. Get on the side of the rope. 1, 2, 3 over there. 1, 2, 3 over here. 1, 2, 3 over there. 1, 2. Bring it forward and you'll see the rope make behind the pole.
Nice.
Okay, now let me finish twisting it. And I could keep taking these ropes. I could do 4 of these and keep making thicker and thicker and thicker rope. And in a minute, yeah. Now don't pull on it, but everyone can come up and touch it. You want to touch the rope?
Alright.
Native Americans were the ones who taught the Pilgrims how to cultivate corn. Pilgrims had never heard of corn, squash, many types of beans, or even potatoes. And the Native American crops had changed the world. But instead of making popcorn, Native Americans made cornmeal.
They'd never heard of a lot of our beans, and they'd never heard of potatoes. All these crops were developed in the Americas. And guess what they did? When they got those crops over in Europe, they used to have famine all the time in Europe because they had so few crops. And when the corn and the squash and the beans and the potatoes from the Americas, when they got to Europe, Europe had a population explosion after those crops were introduced. I mean, the Native American crops changed the world. Now, what makes corn especially nice is you get 2 seasons. The first season, the Native Americans call it the green corn season, and I think most of you would know it as corn on the cob season. How do you like your corn on the cob? What do you put on refrigerators or freezers? And we know, you know how when you have popcorn, you put it in the cabinet, you can leave it there for a year and it's good. And when you want popcorn, it's there. They would have the corn, and usually they didn't make popcorn. What they made was cornmeal, out of which you make corn bread and tortillas. Pretty good food. So when you had seasons where the garden was not growing stuff, you could still have your cornmeal and make your cornbread. Here, I don't have a grinder for making cornmeal, but this right here is a miniature version of a mill that would, imagine these stones being this big by this big and being turned by a river wheel or by an ox. And if they wanted to grind a whole lot of cornmeal to sell, they would do this, and you just keep putting it through the hole, and you eventually get cornmeal. But this isn't heavy enough really to make cornmeal. But that's how.
It was the norm to line dry your clothes during our pioneer days. The Shin Barn was constructed in 1904 near Okeene, Oklahoma,
You see any eggs?
and is one of
Did you find some
Oklahoma
eggs?
Territory's
Put it in
first
your
dairy
basket.
barns. It was moved to the Harn Homestead in
Deborah, she would love this.
1987. The barn had a fun little area where the
Did you find more
kids can
eggs?
gather eggs
Did you
from
find
the
a lot?
hens.
You found them? I see them. Yeah, you gotta collect the eggs from the hens. Yes, you found them. You have to be...
We're here for views.
Oh, I see. Maybe there are other kids. Yeah. Deborah's getting all the eggs, and Susanna's getting them too. House.
This is an area where kids can pretend to milk mechanical cows. Mechanical cows were
Milk the
actually
cows.
used for training purposes.
Ooh, rope.
Everyone got a little
They're
piece
both
of the
like you
hemp
guys
rope that we
turn
made to take home.
Well, watch them
Or
turn.
what?
Right by the Shin Barn, we got to practice some lassoing. We ended our fun day at the homestead by churning some butter and grinding corn kernels. We hope you learned a little something from being swept back into the pioneer days of Oklahoma. Would you rather live the simple life of the past or the technology deep time of today? Please share, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have a great day!
I have to get it again, so. We have to do it the other way.